Minister Gaston Brown says financial reparations are the best way to amend wrongs. Montserrat holds elections next month, and the region observes Caribbean Statistics Day. Welcome to this week's edition of CARICOM NewsTime. I am Michelle Nurse with the details. The issue of reparations has once again been brought to the fore. This time, there was a focus on the economic implications during a symposium under the theme Western Banking, Colonialism and Reparations. The symposium was held in Antigua and Barbuda on Thursday, the 10th of October. The discussions explored the historical roots of Western banks in financing and profiteering from the enslavement of Africans and their descendants in the diaspora. Key speakers included Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown, Chairman of the CARICOM Reparations Commission, Sir Hilary Beckles, and the Director of the Center for Reparations Research, Professor Vereen Shepherd. In remarks at the opening of the symposium, Prime Minister Brown emphasized that financial reparations were the best way for the colonizers to make amends for the wrongs they had committed. He said that there was no need to be intimidated to make a financial claim to complement any in-kind settlement that may be offered. He added that the Europeans used an inhumane and brutal extractive economic model to control the Caribbean as a zone of wealth creation to fund their development. He said that they presided over the brutal genocide, resulting in the deaths of millions of Africans, and created a system of slavery and colonialism. He explained that it was a system of wealth creation that involved the use of 3 million unpaid and underpaid African workers for 400 years. The symposium was hosted by the CARICOM Reparations Commission in collaboration with the Center for Reparation Research and the Antigua and Barbuda Reparations Support Commission. Montserrat goes to the polls on the 18th of November. Premier Donaldson Romeo made the announcement on Monday.
Fellow citizens, residents, and friends of Montserrat, the time has finally come for me to announce the dissolution of Parliament and the date for the 2019 general elections. I met with the acting governor, Her Excellency Mrs. Lyndall Simpson, this morning, and I can now confirm that the instruments for the dissolution of Parliament have been signed. Further to that, I must now announce the date for the 2019 general elections. The date is 18th November 2019. I look forward to a very lively campaign where all ideas contend, and as usual, free and fair elections.
Later in the week, the Premier announced that he had been replaced as leader of the incumbent People's Democratic Movement, the PDM. In a radio broadcast on Wednesday, he said that Mr. Paul Lewis, his Communications, Works, Energy and Labor Minister, was the new party head following an election held on Tuesday to review the PDM's leadership position in a democratic way. Products that could be patented have been developed by young people in Jamaica who were involved in workshops held by the CARICOM Secretariat under the Creativity for Employment and Business Opportunity model. 2 entrepreneurial training sessions were held at the Medallion Hall in Kingston, Jamaica from the 7th to the 11th of October. One involved involuntary returned migrants and at-risk youth. The other was a training of trainers workshop involving youth empowerment officers and other youth leaders. It is anticipated that the transference and use of the skills they acquired would lead to reduced youth unemployment, less drug use, and a reduction in crime and violence in society. From insect repellents to designer t-shirts, Jamaican youth were full of creative ideas for employment and business. The workshop provided the opportunity for them to pitch their concepts to and be interrogated by loan officers at a simulated CEBO bank. They received seed funding and also benefited from coaching by business development specialist Ricardo Foster of Alfran Development Limited. The participants also had the opportunity to test the viability of their products in the market and were expected to provide profit and loss statements. Expert and experienced national and regional facilitators guided the sessions to ensure that they developed skills in effective communication, decision-making, and conflict resolution. The participants were guided in developing short to medium-term self-improvement plans. By the end of the training, they understood how to structure a company with assigned personnel and a business plan. The workshops were made possible through interagency collaboration among the CARICOM Secretariat, the Government of Jamaica through the Ministry of National Security and the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, and the European Union under the CARIFORUM EU Crime and Security Program. CARICOM's Assistant Secretary General for Trade and Economic Integration, Mr. Joseph Cox, said he's buoyed by the outcomes of the agriculture activities in Belize City earlier this month, and that the community was on the cusp of achieving greatness within the sector.
The week of agriculture, frankly, it was I would consider it a huge success in the sense that what you had was a combination of several strategic interchanges. So days 1 and 2, you had the Planners Forum, where you had the discussions ranging from what's happening at the sectoral or the subsectoral level to wide-ranging conversations regarding women in agriculture. You have conversations regarding developments in cannabis, and how the sector can strategically reposition itself, particularly within the context of what has happened now in terms of in the States and some of the possibilities that are emerging in terms of allowing people to bank their proceeds, those who are involved in the cannabis trade, the official cannabis trade, from banking their funds.
The region has serious concerns about the possibility of 2 diseases infiltrating the sector, and these were raised in Belize.
There was a very serious discussion that occurred on the African swine fever, to which end the ministers actually made a declaration at the end of the meeting. And what makes this particularly serious is that this particular, I call it a pandemic, has already wiped out 50% of the pig population in China. We don't have it in the region, so therefore we have to take this extremely seriously, because once it gets into our neck of the woods, it can be seriously problematic. Because the truth of it, from what the experts have advised me and advised us, this thing it's resistant to heat, chemical interventions, etc. So it is resistant to the process. And so therefore, that's the kind of thing we have to look at. They also had a particular look at there is a disease that's also affecting bananas, to which also another statement was released. So by and large, what we found there is that, and the week was rounded out, not just with meetings, but the week was rounded out with a tour and a field trip where people literally went into some of the factories, some of the fields, to see exactly what's going on. And I will tell you this much, that the use of drone technology, etc., is, you see the strategic and practical use that's being brought to bear. And I would, coming out of this week of agriculture activities in Belize, I can tell you I feel buoyed. I feel that we're on the cusp of really achieving greatness within the sector. As for us now to really bring all the players together so that we have the absolute optimal outcome for this region. 18
Caribbean jurists were honored in Trinidad and Tobago on Monday. The first Eminent Caribbean Jurists Gala and Awards ceremony was organized by the Caribbean Court of Justice Academy for Law, the education arm of the CCJ. It was aimed at promoting the recognition of judges and other legal practitioners who have made a consequential and lasting contribution to Caribbean jurisprudence and to memorialize that contribution. Among the jurists were lifetime awardees Guyanese Sir Sridat Ramphal, who was Secretary General of the Commonwealth for 3 consecutive terms; Jamaican Judge Patrick Robinson, who was a former president of the International Court of Justice; Trinidadian Justice Anthony Luckey of the International Tribunal of the Law of the Sea; and Guyanese Nationals Ambassador Dr. Bertrand Ramcharan of the United Nations Refugee Office, and Professor Duke Pollard, who served as a judge on the CCJ. CCJ President Justice Adrian Saunders praised the awardees and pointed to the fact that the Caribbean has always played an outsized role in the field of international law. He said that the respect and acclaim that the international community has had and continues to have for Caribbean jurists have continued unabated. Here's the full list of Hall of Fame inductees, and you can also find it at today.caricom.org. The CARICOM Secretariat joins the rest of the region in observing Caribbean Statistics Day on the 15th of October. The day will be observed under the theme, Building Resilience in the Caribbean Community. In a message to mark the occasion, CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Erwin LaRocque encouraged everyone to reflect on the power of statistics and how it impacts our daily lives, including in life and death situations such as natural disasters that affect us so often in CARICOM. Mr. Roger Rupchand of the Regional Statistics Department here at the CARICOM Secretariat tells us about the significance of the day.
In terms of objectives, it's essentially to raise the profile of statistics in the CARICOM region. It's also used as a call to intensify the call for reliable and timely data for policymakers, students, researchers, even business owners, so they can have data to make informed choices and decisions. Now, why is statistics so difficult to grasp? I guess in some cases, people just have a sort of negative mindset to it. People think it is hard, maybe even a bit boring. But the truth is, I don't think people realize how useful statistics is in everyday life and how often we even use data without even realizing, right? So it's not only government officials or technical people who use data. If you see, for example, in sports, more and more data is being used to measure performances of like athletes, right? The traffic lights, for example, we take it for granted how the timings maybe is set, but ideally some amount of data would have gone into that. So for example, how many vehicles pass through a certain junction, let's say in a minute, all right? And you could do a trend, let's say over a period of a week or so, and then you could say, okay, the green light at this junction needs to be no more than 30 seconds, right? But that's based on numbers and data that you would have collected. Or the Secretariat is doing a number of things. We have an in-house seminar in collaboration with our colleagues from the Agriculture Program, ICT 4D and HSD. And we've also had a primary school and secondary school quiz, right? The finals which will be held on Caribbean Statistics Day itself. And in member states, well, the individual statistical office in member states generally have some sort of activity surrounding the day itself. It varies. For example, the Guyana office has an exhibition on the day itself, which will be open to the public as well.
Former Prime Minister of Jamaica, P.J. Patterson, presented an autographed copy of his new book, My Political Journey, to CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Erwin LaRocque. The former Prime Minister met the Secretary General at the CARICOM Secretariat headquarters in Georgetown, Guyana, on Monday the 7th of October. My Political Journey, which was launched in Jamaica last year, chronicles memoirs of the private and public exploits of Mr. Patterson, who served as Jamaica's 6th Prime Minister for 14 years, from 1992 to 2006. For these and other stories, visit the CARICOM website at caricom.org or the CARICOM news site at today.caricom.org. Like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.